What's up, gang? Welcome back to A Link Between Oracles. Blind Wolf here with Jack once again. Coming at you talking about Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons today. We're going to be focusing today on the 8th dungeon, which is going to be really fun, right? It's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sorry. I think I missed a whole area.
Oh my god.
I mean, it's fine. It's not part of my adventure. It's completely optional. But did you know that like your Maku tree is like upgrading and like has new areas?
No?
Like has a door and like new like things you can get and
Yeah, I know there's a door, but I don't think it gives you much.
Apparently in my version it gives a lot.
Wow, okay, cool. Maku Tree Secrets.
Yeah.
Hashtag Maku Tree Secrets.
Hashtag Maku Tree Secrets. Alright. So in my game.
Yes.
In Oracle of Seasons.
Yeah, we just wrapped up the 7th dungeon.
Yes.
Which for you was
Explorer's Crypt. And then however, what I was supposed to do, like chronologically, I had actually already done like 3 dungeons ago.
Nice.
And done all this kind of setup where you kind of explore the mountains. And get all the stuff that the Gorons can give you and like play all their little games and things. When I did the trade quest, that's like when I just explored for a while. So I have this whole section that like should have gone here, and it kind of makes sense that I was like done with everything. But I gotta go back to Subrosia, and that is because the way to where I'm supposed to go is inaccessible. So I gotta make it winter time, gotta walk on some snow, and I gotta get to a portal that sends me back to Subrosia, and I go to the only place... There's 2 places in Subrosia that I can't access. One of them is here, and the other one is actually where the dungeon is, which is something really cool. The last dungeon in the game, before the final boss area, is in Subrosia. So there was kind of like this whole like, wait, I've been everywhere, there's no entrance. But what you have to do is you have to go meet this kid who is just throwing a bunch of junk into this magma hole that is just sitting in the middle of this room that he's in. And it's kind of hard to watch because he's throwing in like pieces of heart. He's throwing in like, he throws in a mirror shield. He throws in a roc's feather. It's all these items that I'm like, no, please.
Please, sir, please.
So he's trying to throw them in, and you talk to him and he goes, I'm trying, like if you throw the right kind of thing in here, it'll make some fireworks. And I want to make some fireworks. And you're like, okay. And so, what do you think that you would throw in to a magma hole that would cause some fireworks? Like in the inventory of Zelda, what would you throw in that would cause some fireworks?
Try seeds, probably. One of the seeds.
No. You're thinking too hard. What makes fireworks? What's fireworks? What's the essence of fireworks?
Like bombs?
Yes. So you throw some bombs into this magma, and it makes the entire area, the world of Subrosia, erupt into horrible volcano eruptions.
Oh, good.
Yeah, oh, good is right. And in fact, they're so violent that they break through the surface of Holodrum, and now this whole area is like flooded with magma. But because of it, it's melted all the snow, but keeps it's still winter, so it keeps all the trees small enough and things like that, so you can access these areas. So you go through this cave, grab a piece of heart, and then follow your way through to another staircase that will lead you to one more portal after you go through this whole maze. And then that will lead you to the final area where you go into a little, this place that you haven't been able to access previously, and you enter the Sword and Shield Maze, which is a pretty cool name for a dungeon. And they got some pretty cool mechanics in this dungeon that I thought was really cool. The whole dungeon is themed fire and ice.
I've heard of this dungeon before.
It was a lot of fun. Most of it is fire because you're like in the volcano area, but the places that were just like totally ice physics on the floor and like all the enemies were ice themed was really cool. But the mini boss was an asshole. and kind of how you did not like the mini boss in Jabu Jabu. I thought that this was probably my least favorite mini boss of all time, and it was
the Jabu Jabu mini boss was actually fine. It was the boss in the dungeon that I'm about to talk about that I was definitely challenged by.
Well, then that's a good theme for the eighth bosses.
Yeah.
Or eighth dungeon mini bosses. But like this was just like tedious because this guy's name is Fry Polar, and he's a little fire guy.
Fry Polar, of course.
Yes, Fry Polar, of course. He shoots fire at you, and then there's no way to really hurt him. So I was just kind of running away, and then eventually he turned into this blue fire version, which I went, okay, is that ice? And then his attack started being ice, so I was like, okay, what's the only thing that does fire? Ember Seeds. So that was the only time I could hurt him.
Sure.
However, I kept breaking the plants in the room because I ran out of Ember Seeds, and they were only dropping Mystery Seeds. And my dumbass went, where the fuck are my Ember Seeds? And ended up dying before I realized the Mystery Seeds turn him into the, like, from fire into ice and ice into fire. So I could have beaten that boss on the first go around.
Yeah.
Now, I also say it's really annoying because right before this room, you get the item of this dungeon. And the item of this dungeon is the most lackluster letdown of an item, and it's called the Hyper Slingshot. And it doesn't shoot 1, not 2, but 3 seeds at the same time.
Okay.
And that was my final item in the game, and what a goddamn letdown. First of all, this item should have been earlier. This shoot 3 things should have been utilized way earlier. Could have had some practical applications in the overworld map. Could have had some practical applications in a dungeon. Set up some rooms where like you can clear them fast if you shoot some seeds. The only thing it's good for is equipping Pegasus or tornado seeds to it. Is that what they're called? Tornado seeds?
Gale seeds.
Gale seeds. And shooting little enemies with them and watching them fly off into the stratosphere. That's the only thing it's good for.
Oh man.
So this was a big letdown. I was really disappointed with this mini boss and kind of the item, and it didn't ruin the rest of the dungeon, but the rest of the dungeon really wasn't that exciting. It was like shoot 3 seeds to let the statue's eyes open so the door will open for you, and then shoot 3 seeds here to light 3 torches, and then shoot 3 seeds here. It was just like so matter of fact that it was like, all right, that's enough. There was an ice sliding puzzle, which I always like those. I like them in Pokemon. I like them in other games, especially ones that you have to move blocks around before you slide around to get to the actual area. And the slide puzzle was pretty interesting and challenging, and it didn't really like keep me stuck there for too long, but it wasn't like a breeze, so that was nice. But there was this one really cool thing about this dungeon, and I will give it this. You get to, after you beat the mini boss, you get to this area on one of the lowest floors where everything is just magma. And what you have to do is you have to go to this statue room that has these 3 ice crystals that you can pick up. And these are like everlasting ice crystals made from the coldest glacier, basically, is what the owl tells you. And you have to go traverse the dungeon with these things in your hand and throw them into these holes that are constantly shooting fire at you. So it's like you have to avoid them and make your way to it and throw it in, and they fall down and they freeze the magma. So they make these new areas traversable, and they unlock the next areas to like take the ice. So that was a pretty cool thing, and I really liked that. Nice. I wish there was a little more of that, more like maybe stopping magma flow or melting. There could have been more like melting ice or like, options to do that. Sure. But that was probably the coolest thing. The boss was Medusa. Straight up Medusa. And it was a pretty fun patterned boss where like he would go around and attack you, and then like it did like this sweep of lasers. But I don't think I ever got turned to stone. But maybe it was because I never looked at it. But it's called Metalock, but it's definitely just Medusa.
Gotcha.
And then I got my last essence.
Nice.
And the last essence, contrary to the rest of the essences, has a decent description on it. So I'm actually going to take time to like read that. Okay. And it was called The Changing Seasons. Scattered seeds sprout in spring, grow in summer, bear fruit in fall, and sleep through winter. It is an endless cycle of life. The Changing Seasons.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nice. Much better than
everything else.
Much better than young shoots grow quickly under the warm rays of the bright sun.
True story.
But so that was the last dungeon. That was the last part of my dungeon, and it was pretty straightforward and quick to get there. They were like, kind of like, you do this one thing, go to Subrosia, you're in the dungeon. We don't really want to like have you linger too long because the game narration and kind of everything that's happening around is really amping you up to go save Din.
Sure.
So, and unlike your game where you've seen her a couple times up until this point, I haven't seen Din since she got captured from the moment the game started, and we had that cool dance party.
That cool dance party.
Yeah. Everyone had the Just Dance app.
That's what it was. So similarly in my game, there was not too much happening before the final dungeon. Well, the final dungeon before what I consider was probably going to be the final dungeon.
Final dungeon.
So, the second to final dungeon. But once you exit Jabu Jabu's belly, one of the Zoras comes up to you and is like, "Oh, dude, you're fucking awesome. Here's the Zora scale," is basically what he says to you. And you have the Zora scale, which then allows you to swim in this sea that's like super. It's like the Sea of Storms. So you're able to,
the like strong current ones, right?
Right. So you're able to swim there. So you go do that, and you run into a pirate ship, just like you did in your last episode, as you were describing. It's like this crew of skeleton dudes, and the captain is there. And honestly, I was like kind of disappointed that this wasn't like a full dungeon, because how fucking cool would a pirate dungeon be? And like, it would have been awesome.
I'm sure that if they had made the third game, it would have been a dungeon.
Oh yeah,
like the ship itself probably would have been a dungeon.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that'd be tight.
Yeah, right. It'd be really cool. But anyway, the pirate's like, or the captain is like, give me that scale, and I'll give you something cool. And you're like, okay. So you give him the scale. He gives you a Tokay eyeball, which is obviously really cool.
It's, yeah, and I would love to trade something that lets me swim in torrential sea
for a fucking eyeball.
Yeah,
but you go back to the Tokay Island, and there's actually this cave that has like a Tokay, like a big Tokay skull is the entrance to the cave. It's missing an eyeball. Mm-hmm. So you put the eyeball in, and it opens up for you. And then basically you go in there, and the cave has a few challenges for you that will challenge Link. And so you go through, and there's
in challenging ways.
And so you go through, and you like, I think the first one is like a combat kind of based thing where you have to just kill these zombie dudes. So you go to the next room, and it's like one of those invisible floor rooms. So you basically, you have to find the path. I find it by pushing along the Samaria's cave.
Right, you have that. Yeah. I forgot. I don't have that, so I forgot that existed.
Yeah, so you use that to kind of like, you push it along the path to make sure that the next square you're about to step in has a square there indeed. Mm-hmm. And you're just going on this invisible floor. And then the final room, it's not really a room as much as it is just like you go outside, and then you come back up to the top of the island, and there's like 3 statues there, and you just push them in a line. Whoop-de-fucking-do.
Woo!
And then once you do, you gain entrance to the next dungeon, which is the Ancient Tomb. Like right away, you're there, which is great.
Boom.
I like the Ancient Tomb. Yeah, I like the Ancient Tomb. It was cool. It was a lot of rotating platform puzzles. Like that's mainly one of the floors. It's just a lot of rotating platforms.
Oh god.
But the goal of the whole dungeon was kind of like, you run into this one room, and there's 4 slots, and it's like, looks like something would fit perfectly here, and you're like, that's what she said. And you actually are like, what you actually are like is like, okay, and you go through the dungeon, and you find these slates, and these slates have like ancient shit written on them, I guess. And you bring these slates back into these 4 slots, and you put it in, and it does indeed fit perfectly. So you have to find these slates is basically the goal, and there's a lot of like rotating platform shit to get those plates, or those slates rather. Mm-hmm. But you eventually make do. And then you also get your last item here. Oh, before you do though, there's this mini boss which I was kind of fond of. It was a blue Stalfos, who looks like just this blue Grim Reaper. And he does basically the same thing as the wizard from Link to the Past.
Oh yeah.
Whatever his name was, I forgot his name.
Like
the wizard.
Like the ultimate guy?
Yeah. I can't think of his name. Oh my god.
Oh.
But he does the thing where he like builds the orb and then like he like shoots it at you. Man.
I'm totally remembering it and not Googling it right now.
You're not at all on your phone right now.
Wizard. This is how it's oh god. Aghanim.
Aghanim.
Sorry, that's all I needed.
I got there almost.
Hey, I did it without Googling, because when I Googled Link's Awakening Wizard in my brain, it came up as Wizrobe.
Wizrobe. No, bitch. Aghanim. Is that what it is? There you go.
It's Aghanim.
Brains, Jack. Brains. We did it. So anyway, he does the same thing as Aghanim, where he's like, and he like builds up a sphere and he just shoots it at you. And it's either the one that splits into other spheres and like just fucks you up, or it's the one where you like hit it back to him. So that was cool and nostalgic.
That's a pretty cool callback for you.
It was, yeah, it was nice.
Just throwing it out there. So Aghanim keeps popping up in Zelda games because he's the one that unlocked Ganon from like being sealed away. So this isn't canon, but I think that he keeps showing up in like horrible like ghostly forms and like shrouded forms and in dreams and stuff, because he's been cursed to be remembered as this pure evil. And so that's why in Skyward Sword he looks completely different than any other iteration of him. Like he is.
I haven't seen him in Skyward Sword.
Okay, that's cool. So I mean, like, that's like because that's the first game and all jazz. Like he's in that and part of that game, and then from that point, like, and he is a person, and then from that point, he's just like this shrouded like entity that keeps showing up. And I think it's really cool that like they set that up so that Link's Awakening, which takes place afterwards, is like he's there because he is basically this evil force that is just a shadow.
Interesting, but that's just a theory.
A game theory.
Thank you. A game theory. Anyway, so then you finally get the next item in this dungeon, which is also an upgrade to an item you currently have. So you had the Power Bracer, now you have the Power Glove, which honestly, it looks pretty fucking cool. But basically, it's the same thing as the Power Bracer. You just can lift up these big-ass statues now.
It's the elephant statues, right?
Yeah, those statues. Yeah. Is that what they were? Elephants?
I think they're elephants.
Probably. You're probably right. But not short after you fight the final boss, whose name is Ramrock, and he was a dick. He was an asshole. I did not like him. He's this big statue dude. Basically like a big statue head, like stone head with two hands. And he had 4 phases. And the first phase, he kind of just like chucks his hands at you. And you hit them back as you would with your sword.
Oh, is it 2 hands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just like volley those back to him and you hit him. And then the next phase, he comes up to you and like extends his hands. And he like pauses and extends his hands. And then he like puts them together and claps in at you. So you put a bomb there, obviously.
Okay.
So he claps the bomb and hurts himself. Break yourself.
Break yourself.
And then the third phase, he like gets these 2 shields. And basically anytime you try to throw any projectiles or do anything to the shields, he just fucking blocks. So he just blocks that shit. And then he also does the thing where he builds a sphere that comes towards you, but you can't reflect it back. It just barrels through you. Mm-hmm. You just get
and it takes like a significant amount of hearts, right?
Yeah, it kind of fucks you up a little bit. And then he does another thing where he just like shoots lasers throughout the entire room, because it's a square and he's just on the top. It's kind of like Asteroid. He's just like kind of going through,
kind of like the Moblin boss, but
yeah, but he's moving. He's also moving at the top. Okay. He's just moving along the top. So the way you do that is you have to shoot a seed shooter. Like you use a seed shooter to shoot a seed to the back of him, like reflect it off the walls to the room and to his back. Okay. And so then that hurts him. And then the final phase took me so long to figure out, because, and it sucks because like it's the last phase, so you have to go through all 3 phases before you get there. But the final phase, he gets like 2 big balls, and he just puts his big balls in front of you, and then he he throws one of his balls at you, and then you have to go up to the thing I finally figured out is you have to go up to the other ball and use your power glove to lift it up, and then you have to move back and slingshot it at his body. It was just kind of ridiculous. But that being said,
that sounds awesome though. You got a 4-phase boss.
That's the thing. It's like I was finally like, okay, this is a challenging boss, which is something I have not seen much of during this entire game experience. I can't remember all the bosses.
They're revving you up for the final boss to be like, hey, just by the way, there's gonna be a boss fight.
Right? There's actually there's some actual challenges in this game.
Meanwhile, in Seasons,
yeah, I know, right?
Every boss is fight, fight, fight.
Yeah. So that was cool. Beating him was cool, rather. And the final essence you get from him is the falling star. And the description on that: the eternal light of this heavenly body acts as a guide to the other essences. So it's just kind of like the all-encompassing essence that brings all the other ones together. And so that was kind of that for that dungeon. So I guess now all we have left is the last bit, which is the last castle, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I saved at the foot of the castle, just kind of facing the storm. It was like, yes, and then I was like, I should wait.
Nice. So once the last essence is collected, the Meiku tree is restored to full power, which is
after you get the final essence, the Meiku trees are kind of restored back to their original states, I guess. I mean, yours is getting restored. Mine is just an old geezer who's like, go get these things.
Yeah, right.
To make sure that the seasons aren't out of balance.
Pretty much exactly what he says and how he says it as well. And mine is like, marry me, I'm kawaii.
I'm a tree, which would, I mean, if you do marry the tree, that would canonically make Link a dendrophiliac.
Yeah, it's weird.
Or is it just more like Vord? Because he does go inside her in that little door.
Beats the hell out of me. Don't know the details of these things, but yeah, weird stuff.
Weird stuff.
Anyway.
Okay,
so that's kind of it. Anything else we have before the last dungeon?
I didn't really do any questing afterwards. I think I personally, in my game, have done pretty much everything there is to do.
You've covered most of it, yeah. I'm not sure if I've covered everything. I'm not too concerned with covering everything.
And that's fair.
But I think I've gotten most of it. I mean, I got an upgraded sword and shield, and that's pretty much, for me, the important thing.
I'm sad we can't get the mirror shield.
Yeah.
I'm so sad.
So the mirror shield is pretty much just blocked off for the linked game.
Yeah, so if you play a linked game, you can get the level 3 shield and the mirror the level 3 sword and the mirror shield, which is the level 3 shield. I don't believe it gets eaten by likes. It shoots all magic back at everybody, except for boss attacks. So certain rooms are just like, ha! Fuck you!
Fuck you!
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Okay, well that's it. We'll have probably one episode left of this show.
One more.
Yeah, and it's just going to be covering the last dungeon and pretty much the conclusion and thoughts of this game altogether. So thank you for everybody who has been listening to this podcast. Thanks to everyone who's been listening to the podcast. Thank you for joining us on this episode. And hopefully we'll see you for the next one, which will be our final episode. All right, take care, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.